So I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, and I think the biggest thing that I take with me through my entire career is a really strong work ethic. So if I think about my very first job at a Bonanza steakhouse when I was 14, I was the person who had to bring you your food. You ordered it cafeteria style, and I'm the person who had, 5 plates stacked down my arm. I was terrible at this job when I started. I was horrible at it, but I was just, I'm going to get good at this. And I know it sounds silly I'm going to be a really good person that brings you your dinners. But everything that I've done, even that first job at Bonanza, to, attempting to be a salesperson, which I'm not good at, to marketing and strategy, I just work and work and work and work until I get it. And I think that comes absolutely from my parents and from, just growing up in that Western Pennsylvania atmosphere. Yeah, I think we had some really great plans at Desert Financial for 2020, and then COVID hit, right? That's everybody's story this year. I was doing this, and then COVID hit. And so, at a certain point, we were making some really big plans on our strategy for the future, what we were planning to do. And at one point, we were having a conversation, and somebody said, should we stop our strategic efforts? Should we pause that? And we thought, no, we really need to keep focused on where we're going, but at the same time, we need to identify who's going to keep focused on the future and who's going to help us respond to this crisis. So it was actually kind of great to see we could both focus on responding to a crisis and taking care of people and thinking about the future, because we didn't want to come out of COVID having just stopped thinking about where we're going and how we're going to get there. And so I think that's really been a lifesaver for us. I think in terms of the challenges that COVID brings and retaining a good culture, it's tough when you're remote. But we made special efforts to be purposeful and stay connected to people. So in May, we did a virtual fundraising event with our employees, and we had Pat McMahon emceed it, and he is so great and warm and funny. And we did lip sync battles among our SMT members. I may or may not have been involved in a lip sync battle. But the point of it was to bring people together, even if it's virtually. It was a fundraiser for our own internal taking care of our own fund. And that's a fund that helps employees that are experiencing financial difficulties. So it was to help each other and to connect with each other. And so just doing things like that really helped. Giving back to the community is part of the DNA of Desert Financial. I've been with the credit union for 14 years, and I've truly never worked for a more mission-driven company. So when you think about COVID and this need to respond to the crisis in terms of a business continuity perspective, you would think that's really where our focus needs to be. We need to make sure that we're keeping the lights on, but we really doubled down on our focus to give back. And we really have 3 main groups that we give back to. So it's our community. We work with dozens of nonprofits across the Valley. It's our members who experience financial difficulty because of COVID, and it's our employees. So I mentioned the taking care of our own fund. That's something that we do to help our employees, even though we're fortunate to not to have to lay off people or furlough people. We knew that they might have a spouse or a partner at home who may have been in that situation. So they may be experiencing financial difficulty. So how do we stand in the shoes of our employees and help them? How do we stand in the shoes of our members who may have been laid off and now they're worried about making their mortgage payment or their auto loan payment? How do we stand in the shoes of the people that work at the local food banks, knowing that our grocery stores were being decimated by people who were, we were all just trying to figure out, what do we do? I need to make sure I have food for my family. And so the food banks were suffering. And so how do we step up and help them? So it really was in COVID kind of a proof of concept of our strategy, which is to take care of people, and that will take care of our company. I think the thing that surprised us about how we were able to respond during COVID is how we were able to respond in a really short amount of time. You know, if you would have told our senior leadership team a year ago today, hey, in 6 months, you're going to do all these things, we would have told you that's going to take us 3 years. There's no way we're going to be able to step up and help our employees and our members in our community and deploy our back office team remotely and figure out a new delivery model in our branches. There's no way that's going to happen in, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. But it just shows that when everyone's focused on the same thing, boy, we sure found a way to get it done. I think in terms of my personal leadership style, I'm the kind of person who doesn't like to be micromanaged, so I like to operate that way as well with the people that I work with. But I think what defines my leadership style is constantly pushing myself and pushing others to grow and learn. So we talk a lot about everyone has a comfort zone, and it's a circle, and that's where you're comfortable, and that's where you're knowledgeable and you're great. That's why it's your comfort zone, because you're an expert in your comfort zone. But I think what I try to do is push myself outside of my comfort zone, and the people that work for me, I try to push myself outside of my comfort zone, and the people that work with me and for me outside of their comfort zones. And then what happens is your comfort zone gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But we always joke that if you go outside of the comfort zone, it's the learning zone. You go too far outside of the learning zone, it's the freak out zone. And I don't want to push myself or anybody into the freak out zone, but how are we constantly stretching and learning and growing and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable? I think that the banking world overall is shifting. We are seeing fewer community banks, fewer smaller credit unions. And so I think that definitely provides an opportunity for other credit unions to step up and provide that service that people who traditionally would go to a smaller institution, want to have. It's really hard for smaller institutions to keep up these days when you think about, data security, just investing in keeping people's data safe and investing in the technologies and, what people are expecting, and then completely redesigning the branch experience to be a more modern, completely reinvesting in the branch experience to make that a more modern experience. It's very expensive these days for smaller institutions to stay in business, which is really sad. So I think it's a great opportunity for larger credit unions to help smaller credit unions and even community banks. I think we all want to do the same thing, and then to step in and make sure that we're continuing to provide that great service and a great alternative for consumers.